Imagine a world where small acts of kindness create a ripple effect of support. A world where financial struggles never stand in the way of hope. That's the vision behind Community Pay It Forward. After a life changing motorcycle accident, I saw firsthand the devastating impact unexpected financial hardships can have on families. That's why I started Community Pay It Forward, to ensure that no one faces these challenges alone. Community Pay It Forward is more than just a single program. Through community impact and packed podcasting, people all coming together, we amplify the voices of those making a difference. And with Community Dare to Care, we provide essential goods like clothing, food, and school supplies to those who need it most, to the community, from the community, for the betterment of the community. With Community Pay It Forward, we support families, children, veterans, community projects, no matter where they are. We are not just providing assistance, but hope for a brighter future, not just for people in need, but for businesses that are out there struggling, trying to find a way. We have a plan, but we need your help to reach the next level. We're launching a crowdfunding campaign to raise $500,000. This will allow us to market the Community Pay It Forward program more effectively and to acquire a vehicle for delivering essential goods to families in need in our community, and enhance and strengthen our programs to serve even more people. And as a thank you for your generosity, we're offering special incentives for your contribution. As we tell people all the time, your donation, big or small, will help. It'll create lasting impact on our community. Join us in building a future where generosity and compassion lead the way. Visit our website today, communitypayitforward.us, or scan the QR code above and donate today. Together, we can pay it forward, because no one needs to go it alone when we all come together. Every stay is a story, a getaway, a celebration, or a new beginning. Now your hotel or B&B can help you write a better story for someone in need. By joining Community Pay It Forward, a portion of each booking can support families, veterans, nonprofits, while attracting new customers from around the country. Hospitality that goes beyond comfort, it builds community. Join us today at communitypayitforward.us. No one needs to go it alone when we all come together. What if one small act could change a life? What if your everyday purchases could support a cause? Join me for a special 3-hour podcast as we introduce incredible giving partners. Hear inspiring stories. Learn how you can shop with a purpose. And be part of a movement that turns kindness into action. Tune in, ask questions, and discover how you can pay it forward today for a better tomorrow. We're adding a little bit of a live addition to that last video. One of the things that we're doing with this is we want all of our partners, so if any of our partners can hear us, we need you to go on ahead and schedule an appointment with us so we can record the information about you, so we can put it together. And I am going to use myself and this podcasting as an example. These are kind of what the videos are going to look like, and it's also going to be used to help promote you a little bit. So please, to all of our partners, please get with us so we can record your video and you can be shown as a Community Pay It Forward partner. I started Pact Podcasting because I believe you should never shut up. I believe the stories have a power to inspire, educate, and bring people together. Whether it's business owners, nonprofit leaders, or individuals making a difference, everyone has a story worth sharing. I wanted to create a platform where these voices could be heard, where we could spotlight the impact people are making and encourage others to get involved. PACT, People All Coming Together Podcasting, is a platform dedicated to sharing the stories of entrepreneurs, profit leaders, and change makers who are working to build stronger communities. Through in-depth conversations, we highlight their journeys, challenges, and success, helping to connect people with causes, ideas, and businesses that truly make a difference. Our goal is to grow PACT Podcasting into a go-to resource for storytelling, networking, and community impact. We're expanding our reach, bringing in new voices, and increasing our production quality to make each and every episode even more powerful. In the future, we want to create more live events, collaborations, and educational content that empowers, educates, and gives people hope, allowing them to take action. One of the best ways to make a difference is by sharing stories that matter. You can support PACT Podcasting by listening, donating, sharing episodes, or even joining the conversation as a guest. Every story we tell has the potential to inspire someone to take action, start a business, support a nonprofit, or simply help a neighbor. Together, we can create a ripple effect of positive change.
Born into a real fight wasn't right. Where can she dream here? Took a hold of her life, left at night, stepping out of her fear.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. It is Wednesday night, which means community impact. Just to go on ahead and continue what I was saying just briefly before and as I so rudely interrupted you, on the 28th of next month, it is Global Community Pay It Forward Day. And we are going to use that time to introduce the partners of Community Pay It Forward. This is a chance for us to introduce ourselves, introduce what we do, for you to learn more about the wonderful, wonderful people that we have in the program. We know that with the podcasting, a lot of times we bring on people who are not yet in the program. We're hoping to always get everyone in the program, of course, but we do have wonderful partners that we want to show off. And so what we're going to do is we're going to put together as many of those videos as we can and introduce these partners, like our guest host tonight, Mr. Les Simpson. He's going to have a video in there that tells you all about all the things that he does, which is, I'm not sure if we're going to be able to keep that video under 20 minutes, to be honest with you. He does a lot. But, the great thing about Les is he does this program every month. So you do know a little bit about him. But he cares about the people in his community. He cares about the people in your community. So he works with us in order to support something that you care about. And that's our whole mission, is to make sure that, you know what, we're going to turn your shopping into caring, into support, and into leading to good things for good people. Once Les and I are finished talking about the program which I have started, and I have already learned in just a few lessons, I have already learned things that you think about every day, but you don't think about it every day. If that makes any sense, it will make a little more sense here in just a little bit. But it's really amazing what it has done. But as soon as we're done talking about that, I've got my friend George Glass, who he was supposed to join us for a mission of health for Healthy Heroes, but there was a miscommunication. We were unable to get him on live, so we're going to bring him on tonight. We're going to talk to him a little bit about that, and then we are going to continue our study of alternate healing programs. We talked on Monday about medications. As I had mentioned on Monday, that was a very difficult one for me because I've struggled. I do have a struggle with prescription medications. I've been on painkillers for a long, long, long time. And, I don't want to blame anybody for what I go through. I don't. But when you deal with pain every day of your life, when it's not, you know, with insurance companies not going and finding the root cause of the pains, when doctors have to go through all the kerfuffle that they have to go through before they can get you the surgery that you need, or they can get you the treatments that you need. Going through pain, and your body ends up building a tolerance to it. And my body has built one hell of a tolerance to a few of the painkillers that I've been on. Now, one of the things that I did not say that I am proud of is that I had a doctor who was a pain doctor at one point in time who prescribed heavy pain medications for me. And when I started to take these medications, I knew that I didn't need that much all the time. So this doctor ended up getting angry at me because I did not follow his instructions on taking them, but he was wanting me to take, uh, every 8 hours. And I'm sorry, but I did not need pain medication for every 8 hours. But that again is where you've really got to know your body. And if you feel that you've been misdiagnosed, if you feel that you've been misprescribed something, you have to be looking out for yourself. Because I am telling you, if you get stuck in a position, if you get stuck in that loop, it's very, very hard to come out of it. If you would like to have a discussion about medication live on air, if you want to talk about it privately, please feel free to reach out to me. This is my For My card. All you have to do is scan that. If you reach out to me on my For My card, you and I can have a conversation. Again, we can record it. If it's something that you think is going to help people and you would like to tell your story, we can most definitely record it and we can talk about it. If you would just like to talk to me about what I was talking about, my dependency on prescriptions, or maybe your dependency on prescriptions. Am I looking for a counselor? No, not really. But I'm looking for people who want to talk about things. So let's go on ahead and let's sit down. If you want to talk, I'm open to talking. If you feel yourself slipping into that and maybe hearing my story might help you, I'm more than willing to talk to you about it. I'm very open that I've struggled with this. I'm very open that this is a problem that I deal with. And it was hard for me to talk about this, but it's now out in the open, and now it's not so hard to talk about anymore. I've told the story. There it is. Tomorrow, we have family networking. I'm asking you, I'm inviting you, please join us. Scan this code right here, and you can join us tomorrow at 6 p.m. East, 4 here in the mountain. It's a place where you can get your story told without being sold. We don't allow people to do direct selling to each other right here, but we want to hear your story. One of the things that we do a little bit different is if you're looking for a job, you can come on and you can give us your verbal resume. If you have a position that you're looking to fill, come and talk about it. We want to make sure that you do this. Nonprofits, small businesses, hell, I don't care. Large businesses, come in, join us. Tell your story, tell why you do what you do. What led you to do this? We're going to give you the we're going to give you the link to the form. You take and fill out the form, and the form is where you can sell yourself all you want, tell people about what you do. We give you access to that form to where you can update your information as often as you need to. So, well, that's enough of me. I'm done for the night. I'm going to turn it over to somebody who's a hell of a lot smarter than I am and knows a hell of a lot more about what's going on in the world. Great guy, hero to our country. Les is a veteran. He is part of our Heroes, both country and community program, along with just a really good guy, really good friend, Mr. Les Simpson. Les, I had to mute you. I will. There you go. Yeah, this program here, unfortunately, Les, it gets to where what it does is it will you can hear when people are talking when the other videos are going, so we have to mute. That's the one thing I don't like about this new program is that's going on. But how you doing, Les?
I'm doing great.
So you and I, you got me interested, very interested. Uh, you introduced me to the great J.W. Wilson, and I am starting to take the Cracking the Sales Code program.
Correct.
I am doing it for two reasons. I'm doing it, one, because of my brain injury, and I'm hoping that it helps me remember things a little bit more.
Okay.
I hope that it helps me navigate the memories that sometimes I have memory losses.
Okay.
But I'm also doing it because you know what? We want to grow community pay it forward. And I'm 2 weeks in and I'm already amazed. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what cracking the sales code is?
Sure. And then I'm going to suggest I'll give a brief overview. And I think the fact that you are already starting and you've got some people, some curiosity, after I do this small part, we'll watch the first one and then we'll talk about why it's so important not to be a lecture. But we'll speak about that. First off, I represent the Learning Code Institute. Now, I'm going to give you a background on it, and you're going to say, well, what does it have anything to do with me to start with? The Learning Code Institute is 40 years old. J.W. Wilson is the neuroscience that started, and we're the recognized world leader in brain science for communication and sales. Now, the first thing everybody say, I want you not to be afraid of the word brain science. Brain science simply means the way your brain works to run your whole body. And whether you know it or not, your emotions run your whole body. Your emotions are the basis of any decision you make. And so, first off, when a person's brain is working the way that was designed, stress goes way down and creativity goes way up. To give you an example of this, J.W. Wilson has built 23 multi-million dollar companies of his own. Very creative. I could tell you some stories of ones that will kind of blow your mind. You wonder, why didn't I think about this? It's because your creativity isn't working like his. Um, and second, he has consulted with the United Nations. But one of the things people really find kind of interesting is we actually help Mayo Clinic's doctors connect with their patients through their emotions. Tell me what doctor does that?
Yeah.
They do now. Um, and if you go to our testimonials page, you'll find out that we work with all the big coaches, Robbins, Kiyosaki. We work with universities. We work with schools. But you'll say, okay, that's all great for them. What does that have to do with me? That's what we're going to be talking about tonight. Because we've done so well for 40 years, we were asked to come up with a course that allows everybody to learn to work with their brain the way it was designed. And I'll give much more detail once we go through this first episode. But because when the brain is working right, your creativity goes up. But one of the things about the brain, we were designed to connect with others, to help preserve the community. The two things I'll mention tonight, then we'll go ahead and watch this first episode, is our brain was designed to help us be successful in something. And we have plugged the brain. We have destroyed the brain. We have crippled the brain, and I'll explain more of that afterwards. But when it's open, and that's what Zach is starting to understand, is how to open the brain and have a relationship with it, because it's huge. But anyway, I'm going to leave your curiosity at that level, and we're going to watch the first episode. Now, this episode is nothing like any other course you've ever taken, and this is what Zach can talk about. There is no study. There is no tests. You watch a 3 to a 15-minute video, and then we're going to send you out and learn to talk with your brain and your emotions. And that's going to change your life. And I'll get into more detail because I'm on the 8th one at this point, and I'll give you more detail. So let's go ahead and watch it.
Yeah, and it is amazing, and we will bring it up real quick that when he says that there's no studying, I want to add to that, Les, if you don't mind.
Sure, go for it.
He's gonna ask you one question, one question at the very end. And it's not a question that you're going to have to sit there and go through and study a book. And you're not going to have to go and you're not going to have to research, or you're not going to have to go and pull stuff off the internet to figure out the question. Wait until you hear this question. I am only on my second one. And that's because their intention is not to let you rush through these. They want you to think about the question and let that question develop inside your head, right? They want you to make sure that it incubates and it sticks in your head, and it's a very ingenious way. And now that I've gotten into, and like I said, two episodes, I understand a little more about this learning process, and I fully am immersed, and I'm ready to keep going on this. So, again, this is the first episode, which you get for free, and you get it for free right here on the IMpACT channel. So let's go on ahead and I'm going to pull us off the screen, and we will watch this first episode. As soon as I get it to start playing, I can expand it. But this is compliments of Mr. Les Simpson that's bringing you this first lesson. So let's get it started. Do you have anything to add to what I said, Les?
No, I think it's said it all. And once they watch this, they'll fully understand more of what you're talking about.
Yep, exactly. I'm also going to put you on mute again, Les, and then I'll
Sure.
help you get unmuted when we're done.
Hi there, J.W. Wilson here, founder and executive director at the Learning Code Institute. And I want to welcome you to your very first Cracking the Sales Code module. And before we dive in, there are a few quick tips that we want to share with you that will help you get the most sales results possible out of this program. First of all, this course will likely look completely different from any course you have ever taken before. Most of our participants, like you, are shocked when they learn about the structure of our disruptive courses and how they work. Beginning today, you will only receive 1 to 2 of these Cracking the Sales Code episodes, which we call Learning Adventures. You only get 1 or 2 of these per week, and we will deliver them to you one at a time. Now, you may be wondering why we are delivering information to you in such a different manner than you're used to on the web. Well, here's the reason why. In order for your brain to retain any new information, it needs to go through all 4 stages of the cycle of transformation. And these are information, action, feedback, and incubation. For now, do not concern yourself with all those details, because we will explain exactly how this cycle works in much greater depth in your upcoming learning adventures. The important piece for you to realize is that traditional courses that are not based on neuroscience deliver so much information to your brain so quickly that they leave your brain physically unable to absorb the content delivered. What's it feel like? It feels like drinking water from a fire hose. And this is exactly why 90% of the people who sign up for traditional online courses never, ever complete them. Worst of all, this outdated teaching style, which we've been using since the time of Aristotle, causes most of us to only retain 3 to 5% of what we try to learn. So, by only providing you with a small amount of relevant information at a time in our shorter 3 to 10 minute long learning adventures, we allow your brain the time it biologically needs to commit your new learning to memory so you can use it, not only to elevate your sales process, but to improve your life and the lives of others. Better yet, perhaps the most disruptive feature of our new courses, these learning adventures, is that we include real-world actions for you to take, which we call access triggers. Access triggers are hands-on activities you will complete in the real world so your brain gets the feedback it needs to ensure that your new learning is locked into your brain structures to stay, so you can finally get the results in your personal and professional life that you have always been dreaming of. Thank you for choosing to unlock the neuroscience of sales with us. And without further ado, let's get on with your very first Cracking the Sales Code adventure right now. Hi, J.W. Wilson here, founder and executive director of the Learning Code Institute, where we are considered the world leader in understanding the neuroscientific basis of how we learn, change our behaviors, and motivate ourselves and others. We are delighted that you have chosen to join us for Cracking the Sales Code, how to use neuroscience to position your brand as number 1 in its field. Whether in big ticket sales, you do door-to-door sales, operate from a call center, or whatever you sell, whether it be real estate, cars, financial services, stocks, pharmaceuticals, insurance, consumer goods, whatever. Whatever your niche is, the material you are about to receive will not only break your thinking machine about the fastest ways to achieve exceptional sales, it will give you a whole new paradigm as to how to amass a tribe of followers who want more of you and more of what you are selling. And we at the Learning Code Institute personally guarantee that each of you are going to enjoy and reap huge benefits from these groundbreaking adventures in sales. Some of you are familiar with us, but for those who aren't, allow me to provide you a little background on how cracking the sales code came about. Over the last 30 years, our passion at the Learning Code Institute has been, as we mentioned earlier, to dive deeper into the latest neuroscience discoveries on how we actually learn and change our behaviors. Specifically, the powerful role your biology plays in activating the brain structures and even the genes that dramatically accelerate your customers' learning and buying process. If we would have realized the depth and complexity of this subject 3 decades ago, I honestly don't know if we would have embarked on this journey of discovery. But thank goodness we did. We're so glad we're here with you. This journey into how our brains and biology actually learn is an entire universe unto itself, drenched in complexity, more than we could have imagined. And yet, step by step, hour after hour, year after year, and thousands of scientific papers and books on neuroscience, genetics, quantum theory, epigenetics, biology, chaos theory, all that research later that we dove into, we arrived at a breakthrough in understanding the scientific basis of how to dramatically accelerate the speed and depth of learning, motivation, and behavior change. After publishing our best-selling book, Cracking the Learning Code, the science that is transforming how the world learns, motivates, and changes behaviors, numerous thought leaders and business executives and educators have called it the greatest learning discovery of the 21st century. Just as importantly as the science behind the Learning Code is what we did next. We began to develop practical, easy-to-understand applications to use this powerful scientific-based learning technology for specific interest groups like teachers, homeschool parents, addiction counselors, finance managers, and yes, people like you, sales professionals, which leads us to today. You are about to enter the rare era of knowledge about the most disruptive and effective sales tool and strategy ever created. Now, before I go further, I want to acknowledge that if you're an advanced skilled salesperson right now, it is likely that you will recognize that you're already using a lot of these strategies today. Certainly, the last 75 years of trial and error by thousands and thousands of salespeople have produced practices that do indeed produce results. We're not saying that they don't work, but ask yourself, how much work and how many mistakes were made to discover these few gems that really work for you right now? Imagine having at your fingertips a deep understanding of how your customers are thinking at any given situation at any moment, and then provide them with exactly what they need based on the latest neuroscientific understanding of what is happening in their brain. It changes everything. I'd also like to mention that our team includes multiple contributors who have strong sales backgrounds. They are highly experienced and have been very successful in sales, sales management, and in numerous industries that range from Fortune 100 to small businesses. In their careers, they have designed courses, written articles, and trained others in ways that have been very helpful into creating what we believe to be the finest sales course in the world. There have been volumes of books and courses on sales, many of them providing really valuable insights into how to increase productivity and sales rates. We believe Cracking the Sales Code stands alone, delivering disruptive information that has never been available to salespeople before. It's about understanding how the brain works and responds to your messaging. And for the first time, replaces trial and error with scientific-based strategies to effectively accomplish these goals, making more sales and creating more exceptional customer satisfaction. So again, I want to welcome you to Cracking the Sales Code. And in your next learning adventure, we're going to provide a more in-depth overview of the structure of this course and the ways it has been designed to produce better results than any course you have ever taken. So we'll see you shortly for an overview of this exciting adventure in sales. As you will see in these learning modules, which we call learning adventures, there is not a lot of the traditional kinds of homework you experienced in other academic and online courses. As you're going to learn in future learning adventures, we use what we call the cycle of transformation, which is specifically designed to activate specific brain structures and neurochemical systems that create the kind of learning in you that sticks. More on the cycle of transformation and how you can use it to accomplish and accelerate the mental, physical, and monetary return to you in the future. These learning code courses, really adventures, are not like drinking out of the fire hose of memorization and tests. They are designed to have your brain naturally and effortlessly encode the learning you need to succeed in life. So today, the only thing we would like you to do is sit in an easy chair or take a walk. Take a few minutes and ask yourself this question. Is what I have been doing in my sales efforts giving me the results that I demand? And then take a few minutes to reflect on it. But here's the important part. Don't BS yourself so you look good. Just ask yourself that question. This is really all you got to do today. Ask yourself this question, reflect on it, and we will revisit it in future learning adventures and discuss it more. I'm so looking forward to seeing you in the next learning adventure where we will peel the onion even more so you can apply the latest learning and marketing science to your brands and sales efforts right now.
And that's it. That's one of the lessons. That's the very first we'll be getting Les right back with us. I think Les tried to take and turn his microphone on and ended up shutting his camera off. But Les will be joining us again here in just a second. That's one of the adventures, learning adventures. And again, the question, and it's an easy question to answer, you would think, right? The question is, am I getting everything from what, from what I'm doing? Am I getting everything from this? Les, that's a question that seems like it should be a very, very simple question to answer. The first question is, am I getting everything from this? And if you really think about it, your first impact or your first thought is going to probably be, no, not really. But then when you really start to think about it, you start to give answers to that question. Okay, what do I need to do? Why, I need to build off this. And that's one of the reasons why only having one or two of these a week is so important, right? Oh, we've got you on mute still. There you go, buddy.
That's why, like you said, and one of the things that I've learned, and I'm sure Zach will be realizing it next, is as you're asking yourself this question weekly, and I suggest you ask them more than once.
Oh, yeah.
Because we have really been taught to stuff our disappointments. And when we take a course and it does not give us what we want, most of the time we blame ourselves. And second, we think, well, the next one will be better. And so we just forget about it. But when you start asking yourself that question, you're now in relationship with your brain. Your brain will bring up, if you keep asking yourself all week, and different memories of different courses and why you felt you failed them, or the teacher, or whatever, because it's all about relationship and relationship with yourself. And that's why we have one a week. So, and one of the things that Zach, again, I think he will start seeing is everything in your life. When you're working with your brain the way it was designed, everything in your life is going to add to what you're learning that week. And you'll hear different people talk about something. Go ahead, Zach.
The the statement that he said, that he keeps going back to, is drinking water from a fire hose. And I the one thing that I found through the two um, uh, uh, exercises that I've been able to take, these are great questions to ask yourself the first thing in the morning. When I come in here and I sit down right here, I can ask those first two questions of myself. And I've noticed already, it really takes and it helps me shape the way that my day is going to go. And it also helps get me into a mindset. I need to answer those questions in a positive way because they're very simple questions. They're not throwing thousands of things at you in like a 5 hour set. No, this is an 8 hour session. That was less than 12 minutes. That video was less than 12 minutes. And I will guarantee you, and I've sat through sales seminars before, I learned more in that 12 minutes than I have ever retained in an 8 hour seminar.
And that's a very good point. And one of the things that our brain hates is being overloaded. In fact, one of the things you'll find in other ones he talks about is when we go to school, he mentions that we only remember 3 to 5%.
Yep.
One of the reasons for that is our brain protects us from overload. And since we are taking a course to get a grade, our brain will cooperate and let us remember it through the test. And then it gets rid of it. If you'll notice, usually 10 days after you took the test, you can't remember most of it. And 6 months, forget it. So the brain protects it. And so that's one of the things, though, that you'll learn is you'll find other people talking about the same subject because the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, is helping you develop what you were designed to do. And we were designed to become very good in one area so we can give to other people. And that's what our brain was designed to do, is both develop us. And let me give you one suggestion. If you download the book, Cracking the Learn Code, it's 750 pages. It was not designed to read all the way through. It's a reference book. It's a reference of 40 years of consulting. And as he said, all the different things, the chaos theory, the quantum physics, and everything, he has references to all these experts around the world in that book, but he put it together. But my point is, when you're reading anything from now on that is technical, listen to your heart and emotions. It will tell you when you're full. Now, unfortunately, corporate education and public education says, read another hour. Stuff that brain because it's going to take it. Actually, that's when you stop, give it 24 hours, and you'll be surprised at the comprehension because the brain will work with you and you're feeding it in the way it was made to be fed.
I think in that point, Les, is one of the things that happens to me is I'll find myself, trying to read for 30 minutes because that's what successful people do. They read for 30 minutes every day. Yet when I get into it and I start to think about something else, I lose my place and I end up reading the same sentence over and over and over again. And you know what? That to me, and I never thought about this until I started talking to you and JW. So I give you guys all the credit in the world that you guys helped me figure this out. That is me. That's my brain telling me that you're done. You're done for the day. Stop trying to force this. You're not getting anything else from this point on. because now all you're doing is you're frustrating yourself because you just realized that, you know what, you read the same thing 3 times, which means you just wasted 10 minutes reading the same thing 3 times.
Yeah.
So I give you guys all the credit in the world for teaching me that.
And one of the things, if the next time you are trying to study hard or test, if you notice, you will find your neck and your shoulders tightening up. That is a sign from your brain it's time to quit. Because the reason that happens is your creative part of the brain, when you're under stress, completely drains down into your neck and your shoulders, and they get tight. So it's a warning from your brain to stop. And the more you go forward, there's no creativeness at that point. And that's one of the things we'll get into on other months is relationships. See, one of the things you'll read in our testimonials, which, by the way, you can go to at thelearningcode.com/testimonials. And you will hear a school that was very low income, high risk. And once we taught the kids how to work with their brain, they actually wanted to help the other kids instead of fight them. Because one of the things you don't want to do is take tests. See, we were designed to connect with other people, not be in competition, not be better than others. And the school system starts off with a grading system. In fact, it was so funny. I talked to a teacher a couple days ago, and she says, I know it. Now I understand what I did in class was right. I did not separate kids. And the parent says, why aren't you doing that? And he said, every kid learns different at their pace. And so she held to her guns, and she had a very successful class. But corporate does the same. Corporate gives everybody contests. And if you don't get that contest, you're the lower on the sales. And contests, they have proven it is very short-lived, but it's also the biggest reason for burnout for the sales force, because everybody else feels stupid and their brain is full of stress and they don't have any answers because now they're under stress because they're trying to create something that their brain wasn't designed to do, and that's compete with others.
Schools, in which now we're going to have to wait and we're going to have to see what's going to happen now that things are changing with the Department of Education and everything.
Right.
But if there's anything in which, regardless of how you think, regardless of which side you're on, I think one of the things that the schools can now do is it would benefit teachers to take and maybe go through this and take this course and remember that, you know what, if a kid, when you go and you have that surprise exam or that scheduled exam on Friday, but they have to take and they have to cram and study for the final exam, they didn't learn anything.
Yep.
If you can get it to where, okay, well, you know what, they don't have to cram.
Yep.
That means they remembered, because you don't have to cram for something that you remember.
That's correct.
I mean, if you remember it, you won.
Yep.
You won the competition. You learned it. I mean, remembering is not learning. Okay, remembering is, remembering is victory. And so, Jill, yes, what we are saying is, as opposed to going to like 4 8-hour sessions of a training program, in which I've done those 4 sessions every Monday, where you go and you sit in a room for 8 hours with other people. Yes, what we are saying is that each of these are under 15-minute videos that you do, and you get to watch them over and over again. And every single one of them is very similar to what you just watched. It's a very easy program. There is not a lot of throwing 15 different things at you. There's not 15 different speakers coming at you trying to teach something different, every 2 hours. You're learning one thing or two things per week. And it costs a hell of a lot less. So, but thank you, Joe, for the question. Um, and yeah, like I said, it really is. It's amazing, Les, that the lessons that you learn, and even watching it the second time, I've watched it about 4 times, but even watching it this time, I really started to take, and things started clicking in my head, and
Mhm.
that's the way that this is supposed to be.
Yeah,
It's not teaching you every time you watch it. It's making you realize every time that you watch it, there's something new. Because you're not thinking of 10 different things every time. You're thinking of one thing multiple times. You're thinking of
yep,
the solution every time you hear the question.
yep,
So I you know,
yeah,
it's JW mentions on this. If we would have, realized this when we started it 30 years ago, we're not sure. Well, I'm glad he didn't realize it, for the, until now, because it is the simplicity is beautiful. It really is.
yeah. And yeah, that's one of the things that, and like he was talking about, it's only $20 a month.
Hmm.
And uh, but I am going to suggest to you, if you know organizations, the reason this was developed, folks, is all of the sales organizations out there. Um, the top on the sales organization make a living. The other 90% are struggling. And so, and it was just like JW said, if you're an experienced, accomplished salesperson, a lot of this you already know on how to connect with people, but the people under you don't. And so, if you know a sales company with salespeople, I don't care if it's four, I don't care if it's 500, 1,000, real estate, insurance, manufacturers, sales forces, and especially network marketing. We will work with the manager, the sales manager, the leader, and they can provide this to their people down below. And we will build them as people while they're training them in sales. And that's one of the things as you get going and so forth. There's a lot of motivation, and that's you start that on episode 8 is motivation, on how you motivate yourself and others. But again, I don't want you to think about that, because we're not going to let you think about it
No,
until 8, because you really need to get to know yourself. That is what the first 7 are about, is get to know yourself, because we have been shut off from getting to know ourselves, especially our emotions. We've been told from kids, school, and everything else, if it hurts, suck it up and go forward. The brain was not designed to do that. The brain was designed to communicate with us and reduce our stress so it doesn't hurt so much. And that's one of the things, if you download the book, you'll find out we work with autism, PTSD, the many different body conditions. So when the brain works right with less stress, everything works better.
yeah, and Tommy, yeah, exactly what Les was just talking about. Tommy brings up a statement that I'm not in sales, but this is great. This seems like it would be a great program for solution solving or for problem solving. And you're right. This is perfect because, like Les said, this isn't we're going to throw a whole bunch of questions. We're going to throw you one question again that you get to build building blocks on that solution, on that question, to where you can take and okay, this would be the first step. What do I need to do? What else would I do? What else would I do? And I think one of the best reasons for not allowing you to get ahead of this is because it's not like the other ones to where you're learning so much all at once. This is no, 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 no. Stay comfortable, stay within yourself, and learn the first, think about the first question. Am I getting everything that I need? You know, that's the that's your lesson for right now. The first lesson, very simple. Am I getting everything I need from this? And that question, where it seems very simple, can be very complex and you can answer it in many different ways, right, Les?
Yes. And like I said, you'll go into history and different things, courses you've taken. But the one other thing, I was going to mention something, but I just went out of my mind. Well, hopefully I'll remember it before the end here. Let me see. What was it? It was important. Oh, for the person that said they're not in sales, I have a story for you. I was a regional trainer for a water treatment company in Wyoming. And after my hiring, mass hiring, this lady came up to me and she said, Les, I absolutely love the idea of giving people clean water, every part of it, their laundry, their health and everything. But she says, Les, I've never sold anything in my life. And I said, well, how many teenagers do you have? She says, 3. I says, how many times have you had one of your teenagers come up to you and completely disagree with you, and without ticking them off, you were able to convince them of what was best for them? She says, well, every week. And I says, well, you just sold them on the best thing for their life. She became one of my top 3 reps in the state.
Yeah. Uh, Anybody who says that they have never sold anything in their life, they're wrong. Because when they got the job, they had to sell themselves.
Yep.
You have to sell yourself every time that you go for a job interview. You have to sell yourself every time that you go and you talk to someone else and asking for something. If you when you go to purchase a car, if you don't, you're even though that you're purchasing, you still have to sell your own situation. You have to sell where you're at, or you're going to walk away with a bad deal from that car. Every time you buy a house, whatever it is. Again, I think one of the benefits, I think there's many benefits to this program, but the memory, the solution the problem solving, those are just two of the things that you can use in everyday life. You don't just have to use them for sales. So,
Definitely.
well, Les, this month seemed to go by pretty quickly.
Yep.
So, but I think that we got a whole lot of good out of this month. That's for
Yeah.
sure. As you can see, you can get a hold of Les by calling him at 303 579 6881. That's 303 579 6881. You can email him at les at csccourse.com. That's les at csccourse.com. Or you can go to the website. I would suggest, and this is just me, giving you an idea. go to the website below. That's his landing page on communitypayitforward.us. So go to communitypayitforward.us and you can just type in Les Simpson, Core Centrica, cracking the sales code. You can put in any of those in the search engine and it's going to take you to Les. You can learn more about him. Let's get yourself hooked up with this gentleman. Got a lot of good things going on. As he said, he's been doing this for a while. He's on Adventure 8, and it's benefiting you, right?
Oh, yeah. It allows me to see other people in ways I hadn't seen before.
Yep. Yep.
And my wife is a psychotherapist and a clinical nutritionist. And after 6 weeks, she said, "Can it be this simple?"
It is kind of funny that it is that simple. It really is. It is funny that it is that simple. So,
Yeah.
Les, I want to thank you very much. And we will see you next month when we do this again. By then, I should be on, well, a little bit further along.
Yeah.
Not going to be quite caught up to you, but I'm going to learn a lot more. I already know that.
Gotcha. Have a
So,
good one.
you too. Thank you very much.
Uh-huh.
Goodbye. Once again, that was Les Simpson with Cracking the Sales Code. Again, folks, whenever it comes to sales training, I I'm a little skeptical a lot of times because most of these sales training places, they're all the same. They use different your instead of being an ABCD personality, you're a 1, 2, 3, 4 personality, or you're a, tiger, panther, ostrich, goat, whatever. This isn't like that. You need to learn who you are. We're going to help you remember who you are. And then we're going to guide you through answering these questions, which means that you're going to learn the answers as you go. And instead of just shoving so much in your face at once, we're going to gently suggest things, give you a chance to learn the answers, and it'll stick with you for much longer. So, once again, you can contact Les by visiting him at communitypayitforward.us and just type in the search bar Les Simpson, Core Centrica, cracking the sales code, any of those. His profile is going to pop up. All you have to do is go on, check out his landing page. You can learn so much more. Find all of his social media and so much more about him. So, when we get back, we're going to play our interview with a great new friend, Mr. George Glass. This is in continuing our mission for healthy heroes. Okay, this is another way that we can suggest to somebody who may not want prescription drugs or may not feel comfortable doing the psilocybin, or maybe they're in an apartment and they can't do the animal therapy, which we talked about last week. These are sessions where people get to take, and it's an oxygen therapy. So it's extremely easy, and it's proving that it's working for a lot of people. So when we get back, I'm going to do the interview with Mr. Glass, and then after that, we're going to talk a little bit further about some things that I found out about it.
Hello, world. My name is Z, or you can call me Mr. Z. I am a web developer, and I am also a consultant at Z World Webs. My one goal is to develop custom websites that are specifically catered to your organization's needs. I completely understand that building a website is an exhilarating, exciting, and significant step in connecting with your audience. Your organization has the potential to make a meaningful impact, whether it's supporting animal rights, advocating for equality, combating human trafficking, or honoring the brave individuals who have served our country. Your mission is too important to be held back by the challenges a website can present, and I am here to ensure that your website works for you, not against you. Whether it's maintaining, developing, or redeveloping a custom website that is specifically catered to your needs. And with that being said, I would be more than delighted to learn more about your organization and, of course, develop a website Z World is waiting for. Thank you.
Does this sound like your life? Scattered, jumping between tasks but never finishing. Saying yes when you want to say no. Avoiding hard conversations and holding it all in. It's time to stop overcomplicating life and turning it into your
We
advantage.
are continuing
Experience T
our
Now, a
stories
monthly membership
from
designed to help parents, professionals, and dreamers like you conquer self-sabotage and thrive. Save your spot today. Get early access, a special gift, and start transforming your life. Because no one needs to go it alone when we all come together. Whoever said ignorance is bliss never ran a business. Did you know the vast majority of businesses don't make their products accessible to people with disabilities? And did you know that the collective buying power of people with disabilities is over $2 trillion? And if you're a business owner, you need to know how to make your business accessible so you're not leaving this money on the table. I want to tell you about my family partners at Real Life Access, who can help you connect with this underserved market. Real Life Access clients experience 3 amazing things. First, a reputation for accessibility that brings customers to your door. Second, a freedom of worry about legal consequences from not being ADA compliant. And third, increased revenue. Real Life Access team members offer common sense accessibility solutions which won't break your budget. These are business people who understand the challenges faced by all small businesses. They are also people with disabilities who know what it takes to be accessible. Check out their courses, coaching packages, and so much more at reallifeaccess.com. You'll be glad you did.
We are continuing our stories from Mission for Healthy Heroes, partly because we ran out of time, and the other reason is that I was self-producing and couldn't read messages and didn't properly get a link to my next guest. How are you doing? Is it Dr. Glass? Or
It is not. I appreciate that thought, though, that many people actually will walk into our clinic and think that I am a doctor. However, I am not. I do run a hyperbaric clinic. We do have an overseeing physician in that hyperbaric clinic who clears our patients for treatment and provides us with prescriptions for treatment. But I am an individual who came to hyperbarics in order to really improve people's lives, to give people hope in their lives who otherwise really don't feel like it's there. They don't feel like the support is there. They don't feel like, in a lot of cases, and this is particularly with veterans, where they feel like they want to be here anymore. And we want to actually really transcend that and move people beyond that. And yes, I do get mistaken being a physician on occasions.
well, joining us is George Glass. George, can you explain to people out there who might have an idea or maybe not even have a clue, what is a hyperbolic treatment? Hyperbaric.
So, hyperbaric oxygen therapy, or HBOT, as you'll see it on the internet when you surf and look for information. So the process of hyperbaric oxygen therapy is actually treating somebody under increased atmospheric pressure. So any of you out there who are in the Navy, you get this because you lived it. So you are under increased atmospheric pressure while you're breathing either concentrated or medical grade oxygen. What does that do? So basically, what hyperbarics does is it's very simple, and it doesn't matter what we're treating. The pressure dramatically reduces inflammation throughout the system and in the body. So, in our case, and we're talking about programs we run for veterans with traumatic brain injuries, post-concussive syndrome, and even PTSD, the reality is those conditions are a result of the inflammatory process in the brain in this case. So we're dramatically reducing inflammation, and then we're maximizing the oxygenation of the blood plasma. And it's able to get into areas it wasn't able to get into before because the inflammatory process was inhibiting circulation, which carries the essential nutrients for cellular health. When it comes to brain injuries and that, we're just talking about neurological cells in the brain. But it's not a targeted treatment. It's not just going to treat a traumatic brain injury. It's not just going to treat PTSD. It actually has a fully systemic impact. So, if you were coming in and you were being treated for that, and at the same time, you had a cut that won't heal on your foot at the other end of your body, it's actually going to impact and help the healing process with that as well.
Let me ask you a question, and this really just kind of popped up to me. What is somebody using a CPAP machine? Is it similar? Because the CPAP machine is shoving that it's not the medical grade oxygen, obviously, but it is shoving more oxygen into your body. Is it a similar act, or is it completely different?
Yeah, so the mechanism of action, so to speak, so how it works, it's actually very different. Usually, CPAP machines in that are used in instances where they're actually, and you said it, they're actually just forcibly um, infusing you with oxygen or concentrated oxygen. And the reason is that you have an obstruction, you have the inability to actually bring that in. And I have lived and been around people with like Lou Gehrig's disease, for instance, ALS, and they don't have the ability to breathe on their own. So you are actually mechanically helping them to breathe. Hyperbaric oxygen therapy is really very different in that case. So what we're doing is taking people who generally they have the ability to breathe quite well, or it's even inhibited. We've actually treated quite a number of people with COVID long haulers, and they have continued symptoms. Uh, and actually, Zach, that call I was talking to you about, we were actually talking about COVID long haulers, and you can actually look at brain imagery, and it actually depletes the blood flow to the brain in some cases, and that's where these symptoms come up. So, without getting too much down the rabbit hole with the physiology and that of it, quite simply, it is about that reduction of inflammation. So to use a great example, and again, if you're a diver or you were in the Navy, serving in the Navy, so the bends,
Yep.
how
Yep.
do what's the treatment for the bends? A hyperbaric oxygen therapy chamber. That is the treatment. It is the only treatment for it. And how it works is this: you have all those frothy bubbles that are in your vessels, and the pressure actually compresses those bubbles so that they're so small that they actually escape and go out through the vessel walls. And then you're oxygenating that individual. So again, that's how it works. And again, it doesn't matter what we're treating. If it's the bends or a traumatic brain injury, or we've treated people for mold toxicity and Lyme disease, macular degeneration, and everything in between. So there's really very few limitations to the use of hyperbarics and oxygen therapy.
Can you give me an example of what happens when somebody comes in for a treatment? What do they go through?
Oh, so it actually depends. We have both a medical grade chamber or a hard-sided chamber, what they call a hard-sided chamber, monoplace or one person, although in our chamber we can actually treat two people at once in our medical grade chamber. We also have what's called a mild hyperbaric chamber, a soft-sided chamber. The soft-sided chamber, we don't need medical clearance for that, for the use of that. It's a lower atmospheric pressure. We're using concentrated oxygen. The medical grade chamber, however, because oxygen is considered to be a drug, needs a prescription for us to treat. So that's actually step number one, is to be cleared in the medical grade chamber, and we are provided with a prescription. As far as the patient's concerned, once they walk in the door, we actually go through and walk them through the entire process of what to expect during a session, depending on whether it's the mild hyperbaric chamber or the medical grade chamber. We walk them through everything they're going to experience. We talk them through, and some of this is really about making this a very comfortable process, because, hey, you're getting in a chamber. It's unusual. It's strange for most people. Again, unless you've been treated for the bends, you spent time in the Navy, or actually you were a pilot, where they just use the inverse process for training pilots. But we walk them through so each individual is comfortable when they get in the chamber with the treatment process, how the communication happens in that, and it's different between the two chambers, what they can or cannot bring into a hyperbaric chamber, limitations before or after, which actually there aren't any. That's actually a question that happens all the time with people. They'll ask us. One of the other really popular questions people ask us, well, you're monitoring the chamber, but what if something happens to you? You're monitoring the chamber. How do I get out? We actually show, because even our medical grade chamber has the ability to self-decompress it. So there are controls actually within the chamber that allow an individual to let themselves out of the chamber. Same with our mild hyperbaric chamber. It's a wonderful safety feature in the chamber that we have. It makes people more comfortable. Questions around another popular question when it comes to hyperbarics is claustrophobia. Am I going to be in this tight confined space, or is it like an MRI? Those two questions come together quite often. So no, it's not like an MRI. And here are the reasons why. Number one, it's quiet. Number two, you do not have to stay still. You can move around as much as you like in our chamber and get comfortable. It's like getting into bed, quite honestly. There's a mattress in there, you have a pillow, you have your blanket, you have a towel in that chamber. And in those chambers, if you like to bring your favorite book in there, you can read a book. The only things that are no-goes in there, really absolute no-goes, are no electronics whatsoever.
No smoking.
No smoking, yes. There's an absolute.
Yeah, I don't see anybody sitting in there throwing matches,
So
that,
yeah,
that
but
probably wouldn't be a good
we
idea.
have very particular protocols around when somebody enters the chamber to make sure that we are putting somebody in and diving them using the Navy vernacular around it. So we do call it a dive, but we do it in the safest way imaginable.
I've seen one of these chambers. It was a smaller one, and it didn't have the bed in it or anything. This was just it had a bench. It was a beautiful little glass box, that they had, and I don't know if they're like that, but you mentioned the claustrophobia thing. I think one of the reasons why I'm really glad that we're doing this is there's a lot of people who have seen maybe on TV or maybe on commercials or something where the people take and they get into the clam looking thing that also has water and it shuts down on them, and they're like, oh hell no, I'm not doing that. So
Nor
uh
nor would I.
yeah, very unlikely that I would do that either. But what are some of the things that do happen to people that are, that people do stress out about when they go into them?
Yeah, we typically, we're going to have people who have anxiety going into a chamber,
Yeah.
and we can talk about PTSD. I mean, there's a perfect
Hmm.
example.
Yep.
Somebody has PTSD, they might be challenged by getting into that chamber. We definitely talk them through that if they're on meds, for instance. At least initially in treatment, don't go off of your anxiety meds before getting treatment. Of course, we've had veterans and other people who've had high anxiety. They're on medication, and by the time they get through midway through the treatment program, they can actually back off their medications, which is the great thing about it. That means the brain is healing, because that reaction, that anxiety in that, or claustrophobia, that's the brain not functioning in a good, healthy manner. That's really all it is. Uh, it's a physiological reaction. That's a reaction to what's happening physically within the brain. You heal the brain, those things actually fade away. Claustrophobia. So just to give you an indication of this, so we have done, in the 7 years we've been open, we have done over 6,000 individual treatment sessions. I have never had to pull somebody out of the medical grade chamber ever because they're anxious or claustrophobic in that. And that's just, it's our preparation for the patient when getting them in the chamber. It's the understanding that they have an escape hatch, so to speak, that they can get out of that chamber if absolutely necessary, that there's somebody there who is monitoring that chamber, that they can move around, that they can read a book. These factors and the size of the chamber, it's far bigger than like an MRI machine. Again, it's quiet, there's windows in it, and there's communication, although that's the same in an MRI. But there's a lot of things that are very different that allow for it to be a relaxing experience.
I remember one time, and this has nothing to do with any of this, but you brought up an MRI, and they took, and I went in for an MRI, and they put me on that table and started to have the table slide into the tube, and all of a sudden they noticed that I stopped, and so they backed it out a little bit and tried to go again, and I stopped again. And they backed it out and they tried to go one more time. And I finally had to ask him, so when are you going to realize that my shoulders are hitting it and I do not fit in this too? And so that was an interesting experience. I'll tell you this, by that time, I was pretty stressed out, because it was like, okay, we're not paying attention here, and that's really not what I want to hear. But you had mentioned to me prior that you and your wife have experience with traumatic brain injury. One of the one of the things that I deal with on my TBI is if I get into like a higher pressured area, my head feels like it's going to explode. Is this something I would experience in one of these chambers?
I have never had that. Um, I have never had that experience with somebody. There is one thing. So you asked me a question just, about it. So there's two instances where that are absolute no-goes in a hyperbaric chamber. Those two are, and actually somebody called us today with this, a collapsed lung or pneumothorax.
Okay.
And yep, you're in the hospital, so you're not getting in a chamber anyway. But the pressure would actually continue to collapse the lung. So you don't put somebody in who has a collapsed lung. The other is barotrauma or severe barotrauma. So let's say somebody has a bad virus or a cold, bad head cold. You don't put somebody in the chamber because it will increase the pressure. We do very carefully walk people through the pressurization process. So this probably answers your question well. This is part of our pre-talk when we're putting somebody in the chamber. A hyperbaric chamber, particularly our medical grade hyperbaric chamber, operates the same way as a plane does. How do I know this? The person who originally owned the chamber was an overseas airline pilot. So he uses this as an analogy all the time. So you're going up in, here we are in Durango at 7,500 feet or 6,500 feet, and we're going up to 36,000 feet. What are they doing in that process? They're pressurizing the cabin to somewhere around sea level, somewhere in that neighborhood. And if you ever have to clear your ears when you're going up in a plane, you will probably have to clear your ears when you get into a hyperbaric chamber, or they'll get uncomfortable. Same process. So we walk people through, what can you do if this arises? I have to clear my ears. I've been in a hyperbaric chamber well over 100 times. Every single time I go in the chamber, I have to clear my ears constantly in order to relieve the pressure in my ears, in my eustachian tubes. So if swallowing works, great. If jutting your jaw forward opens up your eustachian tubes, great. If you need to take your mask off and pinch your nose and do the Valsalva maneuver and blow to clear your ears out, do that. If you do it early and often, you will not have a problem with the pressure. And that's one of the main reasons why we don't have to take people out of the chamber. We also have the ability to slow the compression process so somebody can take the time to clear their ears if they're having a problem clearing their ears. So we can back the pressure off. We can take it down and then repressurize. So there's ways to work with issues when they come up with people, including anxiety. We will spend time on the intercom and talking to people on the intercom and talking them through a 5-step breathing process. So this is good for anybody. This doesn't matter if you're in hyperbarics or not. So if you do a 5-count breath in, hold at the top, and release that breath in a 5-count, your parasympathetic nervous system that's working overtime and getting anxious will calm down. So you can use this anywhere. You're in traffic and you're PO'd at the person in front of you, do the 5-step breathing process. It'll help take you down and take that anger and anxiety down and being in traffic.
It's angry driving.
Yeah.
What about you mentioned no electronics, but what about pacemakers?
That's an excellent question. So most older pacemakers cannot go into a hyperbaric chamber at higher pressures. What we need to do in those cases is if somebody has a pacemaker, particularly if it's an older one, we have to defer to the manufacturing company and find out how it's been tested. Because all of those medical devices have been tested under pressure. The question is, what's the pressure that device can actually still operate well in? So we've actually had people, particularly in our mild hyperbaric chamber with pacemakers, because there are new models. The newer models can go to much greater pressures than our chambers can go to. So yeah, it is a case-by-case basis. The rule of thumb is defer to the manufacturer of a pacemaker as to whether or not a patient can get in the chamber or not.
Okay. This is it seems like it's a silly question, but I think it's really important. Somebody who's struggling with PTSD, they come to see you, they get into a chamber. Exactly what is it about this treatment that helps them start seeing things clearer?
Around PTSD, so I go back again, and it's great because the important points should be pointed out, numerous times. So when somebody has a PTSD or they have any other kind of disorder, let's say it's ADD, ADHD, bipolar, multiple personality disorders, PTSD, if you actually look at the brain, and the way to look at it is actually through what's called SPECT imagery. And I won't go into the details of that, but basically what that shows is it shows, sorry about that. I thought that I had put that in airplane mode. So in those cases, what happens even in those is, so we look at, let's say, a concussive force, something that hits you in the head, and it hits you here in the head. So your temporal lobe gets injured. When we look at the brain and we actually look at disorders like PTSD, it actually shows up as a very specific pattern of insufficiency of blood flow and actually function in the brain. And the thing is that you have mechanisms and you have different ways that can actually help to heal that portion of the brain. So there's actually a physical abnormality in the brain that shows that there's not good blood flow. I wish I actually just had a chart to put up in the camera right now that shows it. But insufficiency of blood flow and improper function of the brain, and it will show both in it. When you're in a hyperbaric chamber, what it does, again, is you're taking the inflammatory process out, you're maximizing the oxygenation of the blood supply that's carrying nutrients into an area that has been impacted. Now, it's not a physical impact, but it still shows the same type of injury to the brain or deficiency in the brain as getting hit. It's actually not, it's not any different. The difference is that you're displaying some form of a mood disorder or PTSD, something like that, PTSD being a mood disorder. So it's actually physically healing the brain so that the PTSD falls away. Here's another part. So PTSD, you're bringing this up, or anxiety. In a brain injury treatment program, there's actually markers in a treatment program that we look at, and particularly with veterans. What we see is at 10 sessions into a treatment program, they're starting to get and show physiological changes. So basic things from a traumatic brain injury and or PTSD, and they usually go together. I mean, they're inseparable. What happens is at that time is the headaches start to drift away. They're sleeping better. The cognitive clarity, the brain fog that comes with a brain injury, these things start to fall away and they start going, oh, so I can see that I'm beginning to heal. These things are starting to change. If you're getting good sleep, your brain has an opportunity to heal. That's physiological fact. when we get into the middle of the treatment program, a little further into the treatment program, there's usually a point in time where the brain is healing at such a rate that actually somebody who's had a traumatic event, like a veteran, they actually the bad dreams that might be there, they can actually heighten for a period of time, or reliving because their brain is actually healing to such a rate that if they forgot or masked the event, they're beginning to remember what happened. What we like to see is not only do we keep a close eye on them, but we actually, when they're working with a therapist, which, hopefully they are, that they actually step up their therapy during that period of time. And it's just to help walk through this few days where they might experience that. And then after that few days is that going through a hard period and then getting to the other side of it and the greener pastures where that's healed to such a degree that if they're in therapy and that they can actually walk through that in a much easier way. But it is, again, it's a physical injury to the brain, really. It shows as a physical injury to the brain.
It was just my next question was going to be, should somebody have like a secondary or an additional therapy going on when they're doing this? You mentioned maybe having some talk therapy going on with this, or another type of therapy to use this and to combine. That way you make sure that everything is taking effect properly. So, what about any other? After this, I'll let you go, George. But what about physical limitations? Are there people other than obviously the ones we've already talked about? Are there physical limitations that keep people out of these chambers?
Yes, there are. Because of the type of chamber that we have, the one limitation with the particular chamber we have is you are not put on a gurney and rolled into the chamber. So you alluded to, Zach, a little bit earlier, these acrylic chambers, you can see through them. They roll you in a gurney, and you're kind of locked and loaded, to speak, in the chamber in there. You can't really move around all that much in that. However, if you have somebody who's non-ambulatory, it's far easier to have somebody on a gurney and move them into the chamber, or you don't have to wear a hood system or a mask because it's a fully oxygenated atmosphere. But the flip side of that is that's why our chamber is a safer atmosphere to be in general, because it's not pressurized with oxygen. It's actually pressurized with ambient air pulled in through the compressor, and that's how the chamber is compressed. Really lost the train of thought there for a second. So really, the limitations is we've had people who are post back surgery, for instance, and it's a great healing mechanism for that. However, they can't bend at the waist, they can't twist, and that. So we really can't put somebody who's immediately post-operative with like a low lumbar fusion, for instance, in those cases because of the positioning. We have had non-ambulatory traumatic brain injury cases, and we actually are able to transfer them into the chamber. In those cases, we have two people who are there. There's usually an attendant, whoever it may be, whether it's a parent or somebody who's an attendant for that individual. And we actually work together to transfer the patient into the chamber. And we've had a few of those where we've had wheelchair-bound traumatic brain injuries. And in a couple of those cases, famously, they got to either walking on walkers and out of their wheelchair, because it does actually promote motor function returning because of that neurological impact and healing neurological cells. So we've had people who've gone from walkers to nothing and walking across the room. We've had people who are wheelchair bound. Now, does that happen all the time? Entirely depends on the individual case. How long is the injury been there? How extensive is it? What's the age of the patient? There's a number of different factors that come into how somebody might respond in the chamber.
Is there any negative effects if someone, say, has um, is on like blood thinners, or somebody is passing a stone, or anything like that? Have you ever had any problems with any of that?
No, the one interesting and obscure case that we could not put in the chamber, it doesn't happen very often. There are far less things that you can put somebody in the chamber for than you can put the chamber in for and will benefit from it. So if you have a rare blood disorder where you're producing too many red blood cells, that actually is a contraindication. Or I can use this as an example. And again, it's because each patient is it's on a case by case basis. There's the absolute no-goes, which are that pneumothorax or collapsed lung and barrel trauma. Those are the absolutes. The other ones are generally on a case by case basis. So what we know from research that's out there is if somebody has COPD, for instance, if somebody's in early stage COPD, then a hyperbaric chamber is actually indicated and will actually produce greater longevity for that individual. If somebody's in a more advanced stage of COPD, they can't synthesize oxygen as well. So if you're pushing more oxygen at them, it's actually a contraindication. So it's the answer to the question is it's on a case by case basis. Mild forms of asthma, yes, and it's managed well, yes, you can put that person in the chamber. If somebody has a bad case of asthma or exercise-induced asthma that's bad, you can't in those particular cases. So you have to take each patient as an individual, look at their health history in depth, and make a good educated call on whether or not it's going to benefit. The thing is, the worst thing that happens is, and this was in that really obscure blood-borne where they're producing way too many blood cells. In that particular case, there was no information, there were no studies, there was nothing in regards to that. So you monitor a chamber and you monitor it closely, and the patient wasn't doing very well in the early stages. So we pulled them out of the chamber. That's all.
George, I really appreciate this. I think this is very interesting. I really like the way that, look, this is definitely one of those programs, one of those procedures that I think people who are trying to stay away from drugs or alcohol, or they're trying to stay away from prescriptions, this would be something that would be very beneficial to them. Of course, we want to make sure that if people are coming in, they talk to their doctors and make sure that, their doctors understand what's going on. Because look, your doctors know you a little bit more than you guys do. So if you approach your doctor and they say, "Oh, not sure if that's a good idea," at least they can be involved in that decision.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely defer to a physician. Absolutely. I am not a doctor. We defer to the physician we work with, or if it's somebody else who's referring from the outside, a physician, and that their opinion is the opinion that matters.
George, how do they get a hold of you, my friend?
Our clinic number is 970-880-4799, or you can email us at mountainhyperbarics, lowercase, at gmail.com. We also have a website, mountainhyperbarics.com.
You guys, just real quick, give a shout out to the organization that you are working with that is helping our country's heroes.
Oh, absolutely, and always do. America's Mighty Warriors The program within America's Mighty Warriors we work with is called Helping Heroes Heal. They also have a website. All the information that you need to know is there. They're happy to talk to veterans and see if they're a fit in the program. And actually, they are very efficient in turnaround time. You will not wait. You will not wait weeks. They will call you within 24, 48 hours is probably the longest I've heard any veteran needing to wait for an answer. But you're talking about veterans who are in that organization. Cowie, who's the spearhead of the organization and fields all the calls and qualifies people for treatment and everything. He's a vet. He's a vet who had hyperbaric treatment, and it worked so amazing for him. It turned around his life. He went to work for the organization. So,
Yep. One more time, your phone number and your email address.
yeah, our phone number is 970-880-4799. And our email address is all lowercase mountainhyperbarics@gmail.com.
George Glass, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time. If you guys have anything come up, come back and talk to us.
All right. Thanks very much for having me, Zach. I appreciate it.
No problem. Your customers' everyday purchases can make a difference, whether they're shopping in-store or from a computer, for their family, or just to treat themselves. Why not help them turn those purchases into support for a cause they love? As a community Pay It Forward giving partner, a portion of what they spend goes directly to a mission that touches their heart, at no extra cost to them. With our Shop, Click, and Pick program, it's so easy. They visit our website, choose your business, and make a purchase. Then they simply choose a cause they love, and because they made the purchase from you, they donate to a cause they love. Community Pay It Forward. No one needs to go it alone when we all come together. Okay, so we are once again running really close on time, but I did want to bring this up. We are talking about the hyperbaric oxygen therapy. HBOT is the acronym. Hyperbaric oxygen therapy involves placing a patient inside a pressurized chamber where the atmospheric pressure is increased 1.5 to 3 times the normal level. The patient breathes in nearly 100% oxygen, which allows their bloodstream to absorb significantly more oxygen than under normal conditions. Thank God my dog is here. How HBOT works. Under normal conditions, red blood cells transport oxygen throughout the body. HBOT increases the amount of oxygen that dissolved in the plasma, the liquid part of the blood. The extra oxygen helps improve healing, helps fight infections, and helps to reduce inflammation. A lot of that right there is in, I would say that would be
an alternative to maybe ibuprofen, because ibuprofen is that's some of the stuff that ibuprofen takes and concentrates on. So this could very possibly be an alternative to that. Potential benefits. HBOT has been studied and used for various medical conditions. Below are some of its scientifically backed benefits. As George was talking about, decompression sickness, that's normally called the bends. You don't hear about it near as much because they kind of figured out a way to do it, and they're also pressurizing like submarines a little bit better. Of course, as time goes on, things tend to get a little bit better. We hope. Carbon monoxide poisoning removes carbon monoxide from the blood faster than normal breathing. Gas gangrene, I've never even heard of this, helps stop the spread of colostrum bacteria in the body. No, that's not right. Clostridium bacteria in the body, and I am very sorry about that. I will look up that word later. Non-healing diabetic foot ulcers. Holy cow. Non-healing diabetic foot ulcers improves circulation and tissue repair. Radiation injury. Radiation necrosis is another name for it. Used after cancer treatments that damage tissues. Severe anemia. Temporarily aids oxygen transport in cases where transfusion isn't an option. Necrotizing soft tissue infections helps fight deadly bacterial infections. Burns and skin grafts. Enhances wound healing. Again, it takes and it gives your white your what the cells, it gives it more oxygen, which increases healing. And there's more. Stroke recovery may aid in brain tissue repair. TBI. Some studies show benefits for brain function. Autism spectrum disorder. Some parents report cognitive improvements, but scientific consensus is lacking. Again, we are talking about what people say. We want to make sure that we are very apparent that, you know what, some people are saying it's working, others are holding judgment. Chronic fatigue syndrome and fibromyalgia. Some users experience symptom relief. Lyme disease. Some claim symptoms improve, but more research is needed. PTSD and depression. Early studies suggest benefits for mental health. I think that one of the reasons why this could possibly be beneficial for that is the meditation aspect. Because when you get in there, the best thing to do is the deep breathing exercises and just being with yourself. You're not in there, you're not going to be taking your cell phone in there, so you can't sit there and play video games. Not going to be, no electronics. So there are I think that concentrating and the focusing on oneself, I think, could be very beneficial when it comes to this. Risks and side effects of HBOT. While generally safe, there are potential downsides. Middle ear injury due to pressure changes. I am not sure I would be a candidate for this. After my accident, I severed the nerve in my ear.
I'm deaf in my ear now. And part of my headaches are due to pressure in my skull. A good portion of my headaches. I didn't know this was even a problem until they came once right after my accident and they tried to pressurize my house. And I am telling you, I felt like my head was going to explode. It hurt so bad. So, one way, just to let you know that you can test this, and I was told this by my doctor, is to go into the deep end of the pool and see how far down you can go. And generally, if you can go all the way down to the bottom in the deep end without your head feeling tons of pressure, generally, that is a telltale sign that you might be able to handle this. But do not do this if you've got a head injury. Do not do this without talking to your doctor first. Again, I don't care what we are talking about. Make sure you talk to your doctor. Communicate with your doctor on all of this, your psychologist, your psychotherapist, whoever. Make sure that you're talking. Make sure that you're talking to your team. This, again, is a tool. You need to work with your team for long-term health. Sinus pressure and congestion, in which, boy, I've been dealing with that. Some experience discomfort in their sinuses. Again, you're dealing with pressure. That's actually kind of the reason I asked him about the CPAP machine. I know sometimes that my own CPAP machine, it's very, very hard to breathe. Temporary vision changes can cause nearsightedness, but usually resolves fatigue and lightheadedness. When anybody who is from another state, when they come to Colorado, you understand, you get up here, it's a whole new world up here as high as we are. We're in Colorado also, so you know the whole weed aspect, figurative, literal. There are some serious risks. These are very rare. Oxygen toxicity. Too much oxygen can cause seizures. He mentioned this. If you've got a problem with your lungs, consult a physician first. There is a risk of lung collapse and a fire risk. Make sure you can protect yourself by making sure that you're not doing anything wrong. Some similar treatments to HBOT: mild hyperbaric oxygen treatments, which is lower pressure. Ozone therapy uses ozone instead of oxygen to stimulate healing. Exercise within oxygen therapy, meditation. Red light therapy. Hypothermia therapy, that just doesn't sound fun. Uses heat to promote circulation and detoxification. And cold therapy exposes body to extreme cold for short periods. I don't like that one at all because I don't like being cold. But HBOT is a powerful treatment with proven benefits for certain conditions, but it is not a cure-all tool. It works best when medically supervised and used for appropriate conditions. While other oxygen-based and alternative therapies offer potential benefits, they should be approached with caution, especially when claims outweigh scientific backing. Talk to your medical team. Don't jump in feet first. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining me today. My name is Zach Clayton, Community Pay It Forward, Community Dare to Care. I want to once again implore you to please join us tomorrow for the family networking. It starts at 6 p.m. East, 3 p.m. Pacific.
Please love somebody out there, because somebody out here loves you. If you're not helping somebody, you're hurting everyone. Please make sure you take care of each other. We're all we got. We'll see you next week right here on Community Impact.
Show me the way. You wanna hold the heart of Sunset Boulevard. Bring me here, 'cause it's not quite clear to be a part of Sunset Boulevard.